Hi, in this video we are going to see how to download the web method trial version from internet. So you have to go to this link and then you can click this download free trial link and you can fill all the details. So it will ask your information and you can fill and submit it. So once you click and submit, and you will be able to download these two files. So one is the installer, so which is a exe file, and whatever the page I have used it, it's mainly to download the web method 10.11 version. So 10.11 version. So there are two files. One is a exe file which is a installer, and other one is this. Okay, so there are three files you need to download. So one is installer, which will be around 48 MB, and then there is one more file called web methods free download, which is I'm using a web method. I'm using a Windows 64-bit. And you have other option as well. So as I'm going to install it in my Windows, I have downloaded a 64-bit one, which is close to 3.9 GB. And similarly, there is one more zip file which will have the information about the license file. So you have to use that license during your installation. So these are the three main files. The first one is you have to click this installer file, which will open the installer. So it's opening the SoftwareAG installer. So once it's opened, and we are going to select the 3 GB files which we have downloaded. So you have to go to the advanced option, and then you have to click this images tab. So you have many tabs. So you have to click the second tab, which is images, and use installation image, because we have also downloaded the installation image. And there are few options, and there is option to create an image and install from image. You have to select this option because we have already downloaded the image, which is your software, the trial software, which we are going to browse it from here. So I have downloaded it in my downloads folder. I'll go here and then I'll select that particular file, which is close to 3.9 GB, which is starting with web free download. So whatever we are doing in this one, which is a 10.11 version. So it will be web free download. So I'm just selecting that file. Better I'll just copy the file name and I'll give it there. Basically I'm just using my downloads folder, and then I'm just giving a file name here, and then I'm going to select it. See here, it's referring the correct file name now. So if you wanted to validate the image, right, you can click this. It will validate and it will say the image which you have downloaded is correct or not. Because sometime when we download it, there might be a issue in the network, so which might have downloaded some wrong content, or it's not downloaded the complete content. So now it's saying it's not missing any files, it's okay, and then I'll give okay, and you have to give next here, and then you have to say which path you wanted to install, right? So those kind of information now we need to give. So there is an installation directory C SoftwareAG, which is this particular folder, and there is a SoftwareAG folder where I already have some installation. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to create this folder with 10_11. So I'm going to create one folder with a name called SoftwareAG 10.11. 10.11 is a version, and I have given like SoftwareAG 10_11. So I'm going to change that. SoftwareAG 10_11. So you can create in any folder. So I'm just creating here, and then it's my host name and it's automatically selected, and there's a start menu group name. What is the group name you wanted to give? So I'll just give 10.11 as well, and then I'll just click next. And if you look at this one, right, and the particular image which we have browsed, which has a lot of data. So these are the installation component available in that particular trial image. Even it's having a web methods universal messaging, and there's a web methods metering, using which you can have how many transactions going through web methods. So there's a web method metering component, and also you have a my web method server component, integration server, and also you have other components as well. So whatever the components you need it, you can select it, but some of the components require some kind of a database configuration. If you have a database already installed, you can provide the details. So I'm going to select some of the component which I needed. So mainly I need integration server, and then when you select some of the component, right, and it also selects some of the dependent component as well. So when I select integration server, under that this particular image which we have downloaded, it is having trading networks and active transfer and the actual server as well. And if you want my web method server, you can select it. User interface and universal messaging, it's mainly for the messaging component, and almost I'm going to select everything. So there's a E standard, and if you wanted to use it for EDI module and you have something, and EDI you have some data as well. And there's a end-to-end monitoring component which I'll select it, and I also wanted to install the latest web method designer, which I'll select. There's a cloud stream version and cloud big memory, and ABE, which is asset build environment, using which we can do some kind of automated deployment. So that is also there. In the adapters, right, whatever the image which we have downloaded, it's having JDBC, SAP and NTRX adapter, and there's something called cloud component, and under that we have some of the component as well. So now what I'll do, I'll select everything, and I'm going to install everything. See here, the SoftwareAG has detected a possible conflict because Java is loading a class, and there's some error. And please ensure that the following environment variable and Java setting do not contain to conflicting Java SoftwareAG install jars. Okay, there's a class path, and there's a mismatch in the Java version. So maybe I'll just set that or fix that issue in the later, and then I'll just click next now, and I'll just give OK. And now once I give OK, right, and still it's showing whatever the component I have selected and which contains our integration server flat. Okay, so here if you see here, right, there are some component from the image which you have downloaded, right, and other than that it's able to find some of the components having some kind of updates as well. You can install the most recent update on product you have selected for installation, and I'm okay because I also wanted to have the latest updates. So I'll select with everything, and then I'll just go and click next, and it's asking a default product administrator password and confirm password, and required password change at the first product login unless using command center. Okay, so this is kind of administrator password, so I'll just give next, and then we'll see what is happening. See here, supply a default product administrator password. So I'll just give manage, which is a default password, and then we'll just proceed further. I'll click next. Okay, so now it's asking us to select the integration server license file, which is we have downloaded as well. I'll just go to the downloads folder, and which folder we have downloaded it, and I have it in this particular folder. Okay, so I'll just select that folder, and then I'll go inside that folder, and then I'll choose the file name, and these are the file name. I'm just going to select the integration server one, and here if you see there are default port. So whenever you wanted to run integration server, it needs to run in some specific port. This is a default port, and there is a diagnostic port and also secure port. So I'll leave everything with default, and then there's a checkbox here. Do you want to register this as a Windows service? So when you click this one, right, it will also install as a service, so that if you wanted to start it from the services page, you will be able to start it. And then there's a packages you selected, the product tree will be copied to the package repository. You can have an installer install. So I'll just go with the default one, the default checkbox, whatever it is there. And other than that, I have selected this register Windows service. Now I'll just click next, and it's saying so do you want a database connection? It's saying external RDBMS or embedded database. So I'll just keep with the embedded database for now, and then I'll just click next. So I've given embedded, and then there is something called trading networks, and it's saying Oracle, and these are the database which we can configure. And because this trading networks, right, you need specific database connection. So I'll just, and also it's asking a connection name and URL and database user and password. And what I will do, I'll just go and say this is my trading network connection, and this is a URL which we need to pass it. This is a sample. And I'll just go and set the server name as localhost, and I have already Oracle installed in my machine, which is running in 152.1 which is a default port, and there's a service name, and I think the service which I'm running, that is a default service which is nothing but ORCL, and then database user. For example, for this one, right, what I'll do, I'll just go and create a user called ashes webmethod 11, and with this password I'll try to create it in through my SQL plus, and I'll just open the SQL plus and I'll run this command, and I'll just copy this one again. Basically we are trying to create the user, which is also nothing but it's a schema. I'm trying to create it, and then I'm just trying to grant table access for the particular user. So grant is succeeded, and then if I wanted to verify that particular schema has been created successfully or not, so that is what I'm going to do that now. So in order to do that, I'll just copy the query properly again. So the query is there, so which will say the particular user, right, whatever we created, it's created successfully or not. So we are trying to run it and it's saying no rows selected, and I'm just checking the grant and the username she hashes webmethods 1011, she hashes webmethod 1011, and user is identified password, and user created, grant succeeded, and I'll just maybe I'll just try to log in with that user, and then I'll open the SQL plus again just to validate the username which we just created, right, which is working or not. 1011, and password I just gave it as a password only because this is a just for this demo, saying lacks create session privileges missing. Okay, so meanwhile I'll just try to log in with my other user. So create session privilege missing for the user, so I'll just see what command we need to run, right. So I'll just go and quickly check that. So mainly we are doing with Oracle, so it's a grant. Okay, so this is the additional privilege we need to give. I'll just copy that, and which I'll give it here as well. So this is my user, I'll copy the username and I'll put it here, and meanwhile I'll just grant create session to this user. Okay, grant succeeded. Now I'll just close and open again SQL plus, and then I'm going to use my new user which we just created, which is webmethods 1011, and password I just gave is a password only. See here we are able to log in. So what we did, we just used this one to create the user, and we granted creating the table permission, and we selected this one and it was giving no records, and then I was giving this one so that we are able to log in as well. So again I'll just try to run this one again just to see it is coming properly or not. So basically I'm expecting a different result, and it should show some status, and table view not exist. Okay, select username, maybe right, whatever the user or whatever the new user which I'm using it, right, and which is not having a privileges to run this particular command. So this is fine, but again I'll just quickly show it again from my other user just to show that particular command is working or not, because it should, I think I gave a username wrong because I just gave semicolon at the end, demo user and password. So logged in. So now I'll try to run this one. So basically it is checking this username, it's active or not, right. So I'm just going to check the status, no row selected, it's coming. Okay, this is fine. So we just go and try to fill the data. We gave this one and database user, and this is a user, and password is I gave it like a password only, and I'll try to run, and I'll just try to give next so that we will know. Okay, so that is done now, and run as a service and run as a gateway. So this is mainly for the active transfer. For now I'll just give this as a run as server, and then so here, see here the database connection, it's selected whatever we filled in the previous page, it selected everything automatically, and here it's asking to select our license file, mainly for the active transfer. I'll try to choose that. See here, active transfer server is there, gateway is there, agent is there. As I have selected the server option, so I'll select the server option here, I'll click next. And platform manager, which is a we also call it this as a SPM. And then are you going to use a command central to manage your component? I'll say yes. I have checked this checkbox, which is also already checked as a checked by default, and also it's asking a register Windows service. I'm also saying yes for that, so that we will be able to start up from the services page. And I'll leave this one with the default port for the platform manager, and then I'll just go with next. And it's asking a big memory max component license file. I'll just go and see is there any component license file is there. Even though it was there in a license image, the license file is not there with us because it's not available as part of the trial. I'll try to give next. Okay, so it's saying specify a valid license file. So we don't have a license file. I'll just go and see the folder again. Is it there? Integration server, cloud stream. It's not there. So only way in order to proceed further, right, I need to uncheck this big memory max component. So I'll just go back, and I'm just going to uncheck the big memory one, which is not required because we don't have license key. I'll just go so here I have to unselect the big memory related one. So this is universal messaging, my web method server, and okay, so when we install we can select all these also, so that it will be useful. So I'll just select everything which is related to process engine, and then other support for gRPC and stuff like that. And only thing is I'm just going to exclude big memory related thing, command central and all. I'll select it for now. Okay, there is an option to unselect everything, cannot be installed in the same directory. Okay, so I'll select the I'll unselect the agent and I'll select the server, and here right there's an option to select everything. So that is what I did. So now I'm just going to remove this big memory max component, and then I'm going to proceed further. So now what we did, so we select all except agent, and also big memory I have removed it because we don't have the license file. So this one we'll sort it out later because it's saying some mismatch in the Java class because it's unable to load the Java class or the jar file properly. Maybe some conflict in the class path, which we'll fix it later. Anyway, we can set it an environment variable if we face any issue. So this one I'll just give manage, and then I'll just click next. And whatever we have selected earlier, it's automatically selected. So I'll just go further with next. Integration server alone, I have used a embedded database because it's allowed. And TN, right? Okay, I think the TN, whatever we filled it, right, it's gone. So you have to fill it again. I'll fill it again. So whenever you select the specific database, right, that particular syntax, it will load here. So here I'm going to use Oracle. So that's why I'm just copying this JDBC URL, and then database is running in localhost, and then 1521, and then service name equal to ORCL, and database user is our I'll copy, and then I'll paste it in our installer, and then password, and then I'll just click next. And run as server, whatever we selected, it's coming. And the previous page, whatever we have provided the RDBMS, the external database connectivity, so that is also coming properly. And command central details already filled, and common directory service support, and it is also expecting some kind of database connection. You can specify database connection now or after installation as well. As of now, I'll just try with the same thing. This is for a common directory, so I'll just fill it like that. So earlier one I referred it as a TN, right? So now I'll just give this one only, so that we don't need to fill it later. But again, there's an option to fill in later as well. And then I'll just keep the service name as ORCL. So whenever you install default Oracle installation from internet, so it will install ORCL as a default service, and I'm giving that, and I'll just give the username and password which we just created in our Oracle database. And next one is my web method server, and it's saying new installation because we are just doing a new installation. I'll select that, and normally my web method server, it runs in 8585 port, which is the default. How our integration server runs in 5555 as a default port, similarly MWS runs in 8585 port. And I'll select this register Windows service as well, so that we will have a flexibility to start it from our services page as well. And here I'll just fill all the details which is already coming from the previous page. I'll click next. Universal messaging also new installation only, and I'll browse it. The license files, I'm choosing it, and then create a server instance, and it's saying all, and then there's a port which is a default port 9000, and this is the place we are installing all the components, so that is coming there. And web method suite use cases, large messages, transaction. Yeah, so I'll just go with the default option, and then there's a register Windows service option as well for our universal messaging, which I'll select it, and then I'll click next. And it's saying what are the component got selected and what are the things will get installed, and similarly what are the updates got selected, right? So those kind of things, it's going to install it now. So I'm just going to click install. So it's going to take few minutes, and then once it's installed, we will be starting our services so that we can use it for our development purpose. Now the installation is complete, and whatever we have installed, it's appearing here, and this is the final page after our installation. And also it's showing what are the product fixes which got installed as part of this particular image as well. So these are available now, and it's installed, and I'm just going to close this window. So once you close this window, come to our installation folder which I have installed in C:, and this SoftwareAG 10.11 I have installed it, and these are the components. So if you look at it, I have an integration server component, and also platform manager, and update manager, universal messaging component, and also command central, and also there are some documentation folder as well, which is having only high level documentation. Otherwise you can go and open it from the documentation.softwareag.com. So these are the folders, or these are the installation installed. So the designer is available under this particular folder. So now I'll just go and start our application. So whatever we just did, right, it's just an installation alone. So we have to start that application. I'll just go to the services file. So it will open the services window. So here I'm just going to search SoftwareAG. So this is the one I have installed, it SoftwareAG 10.11, and that is mainly the 10.11 version, and I have few other version in my machine, so that is why it's showing. And this is the one which we just installed, integration server, and my web method server, SoftwareAG platform manager 10.11, and SoftwareAG runtime, which is running now, and there is something called universal messaging as well. So these are the component I have installed it. So I'll just start the universal messaging component. We will use this component mainly for publishing some message and subscribing the message from the messaging platform. And once this is up, I'll just start the integration server so that we can verify all our installation is working fine or not. So now the universal messaging is coming up, and this will run in a default port called 9000. So this is running now, and now I'll just go and start the integration server, which is this one, SoftwareAG integration server 10.11 version. And meanwhile, right, if you go and see so this is the universal messaging installation folder, and here there is something called server, and you have server, and you have bin. Okay, so inside the bin also you have the relevant file using which you can start the server as well. So there is a file called nserver. So how we have started it? We have started from our services, Windows services, right? But there is an option to start from here as well. So you have to run this nserver.bat file. So once you start it, and this is the way you have to stop it, and there is something called nstop server, using which you can stop the universal messaging as well. But other way is you just go here, and then if it is running, then you just right click and stop as well. So now integration server is started, and I'll just go and see the log file which got generated for integration server. So you just go to installation folder and go to integration server, and there's a folder called logs config, and packages are there. So the packages is the whatever the built-in service packages. So those all available here, which specifically it will start with WM package. And also as we have selected WMTN, which is a trading network, so that's why you have these packages. And other than that, you have one more package also available, which is WMTN EXTDC. And we have installed SAP adapter, so that is why this package is installed. And similarly, we have installed the JDBC adapter as well. And other than that, whatever the built-in packages are available for the different module, it's installed under the packages folder. So now integration server, and you just go to the instances and go inside the default folder, and then there is a log folder. So this logs folder, you can see the server running status from this server.log file. So I'll just try to open this file, which is 3 KB now, and see my time. It's 11:05 PM in the night, and you see the logs. The application or the IS is coming up, which is the integration server, which is coming up. See here, almost it's see here the config file directory saved. This also you can see, and also you will be able to see this initialization completed, which took almost 4:38 seconds. Okay, so this is the first time it took more time, otherwise normally it will come up in 1 or 2 minutes. Okay, now I'll just close this one because it's just a server log, and I'll just go and refresh this page, and you'll be able to see our integration administrator page, which is coming loaded. And here, right, you can open with administrator, which is in A in a capital, and password is manage. Okay, so which is a default password, and you just click login, and this is the new login. Once you log in, you'll be able to see, and also you are able to see this version is 10.11, and the uptime, and also what is the memory out of 1 GB which is allocated for this particular integration server, how much is used, and what is the CPU usage. And similarly, right, you have adapters installed here, which shows your JDBC adapter, WMDB, and NTRX adapter. And under the solution, you have a CloudStream, deployer, EDA, and EDNT module, which we have installed. And packages, normally it will show the list of WM packages which we have installed along with the WMTN. Okay, because we have installed the WMTN as well. And also there is a connectivity which you can make it to your cloud environment. For that, you have something related to webmethods cloud as well here. And settings, and here is the place you will configure all the relevant settings, where you have a URL alias, and mainly, right, as we have configured database, the thing will be here under the JDBC pools, and active transfer configuration associated with this, and there's a TN configuration associated with the TN alias, and which is basically connecting to our Oracle database. So these are the three alias. Whenever we give the details, right, we just filled it, and one is TN and other one is the MWSDB connection, and there is something called embedded database pool as well, which we have chosen it for our integration server. And I'll just try to test this TN alone and see we are able to connect to our database. See here, test of TN is successful, and that's one. And also IS internal, it's referring embedded database pool because it's going to use a embedded database instead of any external database. I didn't configure anything with Oracle here, so here it's using some embedded database. So mainly whatever the schema which we use here, right, if you go back, it's using a IS internal, so it's pointing to this embedded database. And mainly it is IS internal database or IS internal schema. That's the one, it will hold all your scheduler details. So for example, if you go to your scheduling, right, and whatever the scheduler you create, which comes under IS internal schema, which is currently we are pointing to our embedded database. But other than that, the TN related component, right, so whatever the TN related component we have, which is WMTN, and that's basically it's kind of connected to our Oracle database. Okay, so this is I'm just trying to open the wmtn package and it's not opening. Okay, so I tried with the default password, it's not working, so that's fine. So anyway, we are going to see from MWS only, and we are going to connect and do all the trading network related stuff. And logs, it will come under the log section where you can see your server log, and if there are anything error, you can see it from the error log. So those kind of things, it's mostly similar to the previous version. And I'll just go now to the other application. So basically we are also starting our MWS, right, which we just started. And before that, right, our IS is connected to our universal messaging, which you can see it from this messaging option. Okay, so see here, this messaging, right, and it's mainly for the logs, and I'll just close this one. So you just come to settings, and mainly it's having resources. Okay, so it's not here, and I'll just go to the other options. And if you see here in the latest version, it is under this messaging option where you have many things. Here you have something called, under the web method settings, you have something called universal messaging, which is internally connecting to this particular universal messaging server, which we have installed it as part of this installation. Now I'll just go and go to the back, and it's enabled, so which means it's able to connect to your universal messaging server. I'll try to disable it, and then I'll try to enable it. See here, we are able to connect from our integration server to our universal messaging server. And this way, right, you can connect from your IS to your universal messaging server. Now I'll just go and see, we are able to open our MWS page or not, because we have also installed the MWS page. And normally, right, first time installation, MWS will install lot of tables, and it will initialize a lot of things. So that is why it will take a lot more time for our MWS installation. So meanwhile, right, I'll just go and see, is there any log file got created for MWS. Okay, so because we just started it, and I'll just go to MWS, and I'll see the log file. Okay, so I'll just go to the default instance and logs, and it's not here. See, there are a lot of files are getting updated with the current time as well under this temp. Yeah, so it's bringing up the MWS application. So we will wait for a few more minutes to see the application from the browser. So under the bin also there is a log folder. I'll just try to open that, and it's with older time only. So almost 20 minutes back this file got created. Okay, so meanwhile we'll try to connect from our designer to our new integration server, so which will be there in this folder, and you have something called designer, and you have something called Eclipse, and under the Eclipse you will have some exe file, which is our SoftwareAG designer, and through which we can connect to the newly installed web method integration server. So that's one kind of verification we need to do, so that from that we can develop any kind of integration solution, because this is the designer we will use to connect to our integration server. So now it's asking a path, and I'll just give this workspace, which is 1011. And so as of now, right, if you go to my folder, C:users Arul C, so this is my profile, and here is there any workspace for 1011? It's not there, so it's a new workspace, it's going to create it, and I'll just go and click and launch. So that will create a folder here. See here, that's a folder, and so here it will store some internal files and whatever we use it in designer, but actually whatever the package we create, that gets stored in our integration server itself. But there are some specific component, it will get stored in local as well. So those kind of things, it will get stored in our workspace. So now the designer is getting opened. So if you have worked long back with web method 9 and now you are recently started using 10.11 or 10 point series, so you'll be able to see a little bit of different in the UI, which was there in our older version as well, in the 10.x version. But if you have mostly used your 9.x version, so then some of the UIs will definitely, there will be a difference in the UI, and where you will have more kind of this kind of dashboard and JVM metrics, and you have usages and what are the top level APIs and response time. So there are a lot of metrics added in the new 10.x version. Okay, so now so IS is up, and from IS we are able to connect to UM. So the last verification which we are trying to do from the designer. So this is the designer, and I'll just open the service development perspective, and from there only we can because other than that there is a perspective called process development perspective. So you will use this process development perspective to create any kind of a BPM process. But now what I'm going to do is I'm just trying to connect to my local see here, these are the package only, it's available on our local integration server. And by default, right, you have that particular installation with this default is configured under the preferences under the SoftwareAG and integration server, and it's pointed to localhost 5555. So if you have installed on a different port, then you can come and edit here as well. By default it will connect to this default host name and port. So if you are going to connect to some other your organization server, then this host name you will give a different value. And also in your application or in your enterprise environment, if you are going to use a different port for integration server, that and all you can fill it here, and using which you can configure and you can connect to your integration server from the designer. So this way we have connected to all our packages from the designer. So now, so we have verified the installation part. So IS is up, UM is up, IS is able to connect to universal messaging, and designer is able to connect to our integration server as well. So now I'll just go and open command central. So mainly this command central, right, we also saw there is no services running for command central. So we'll just go and see the command central folder and command central, and you have something called client. Okay, so and then there's something called bin. Okay, there are some bad file as well which you wanted to start, you can start as well. So using command central we can manage and configure our relevant or different environment, and from there also you can start or you can stop our service. So basically it's administration tool through which you can stop or manage your all your web method related components. So now I'll just go and see our MWs is up or not. Okay, so it will take some time, and after that, after a few minutes you can come and try as well, so that you'll be able to see our MWs is up or not. So from the MWs only we can do a lot of TN related exercise, and because there are some pages where we can create all the TN related concepts or use cases which we will try once the MWs is up. So now as part of this video what we have seen, so how to download the trial version of latest web method version which is 10.11, and also we have installed all the required components, and also we have verified the all the services. Basically we have started the integration services, universal messaging services, MWS services, and from there we have connected to universal messaging as well. The adapters, you are able to see the JDBC adapter here, and through which you can configure any kind of a JDBC connection, and using which you can talk to your database as well. So it could be Oracle database, MS SQL or MySQL, what kind of database it's supported, what are the databases which are supported by our JDBC adapter, we can configure it here, and then we can access those tables using our integration server related services. In our installation, so we can also verify the universal messaging connectivity from the enterprise manager as well, so which is basically available in our universal messaging folder, Java, server, bin folder, and there is something called enterprise manager.exe. So this is basically a client tool using which you can connect to your universal messaging server. And see here, it's opening SoftwareAG universal messaging, and through which you can connect to your universal messaging and see all the relevant topics and queues, everything created. See here, you can expand this realm and then server. Okay, so I'm just trying to make little big. Okay, so it's showing small font only, and basically if you have, what you have to do, so you have something called cluster realm server. So you have to click that plus symbol and then it will expand that, and then you have something called WMIS. So this is the place it will create our equivalent IS document. But other than that, right, whatever the queue or topic you create, it's created directly under your under the server. And also you can see whatever it's created, right, and you can go to the JNDI and you'll be able to see it from this particular page as well. So it's asking, do you want to create a JNDI context? I'll just give yes, and this is the page, right, and you'll be able to see all your queues and topics. Okay, so this page, whatever you created, it will appear here as well. And yeah, so this way you can connect to your universal messaging from the universal messaging enterprise server. So whatever queues and topics you have created, you can come and see and monitor here. Basically, if any messages push to your queue or topic, you can see it from this particular UI. So how many pushed and how many subscribed it, right? Those kind of things you can monitor from this particular enterprise manager. So I'll just close this one now. So this way you can validate your enterprise manager connectivity. So this is a separate client application using which you can talk to your universal messaging server. Thank you.